The Silent Watchers, the galaxy had grown comfortable with humanity's absence. 3,000 years had passed since the Great Withdrawal, when every human ship, station, and colony beyond the Sol system simply vanished overnight. No farewell messages, no explanations, just empty worlds and abandoned infrastructure left behind like discarded toys. The other species celebrated at first, relieved that the unpredictable humans had finally removed themselves from galactic politics. They divided up the abandoned territories, claimed the empty stations, and rewrote history to minimize humanity's contributions to galactic civilization. Ambassador Krail of the Zephyron Empire stood on the bridge of his diplomatic vessel, studying the latest survey reports from what used to be human space. His forearms moved independently, sorting through holographic data streams while his compound eyes tracked multiple displays simultaneously. The Zephyrons had claimed the largest portion of former human territory, including the resource-rich systems near the Old Frontier. For 3 millennia, they had prospered on the foundations the humans left behind. The armistice agreement had been simple enough. Humanity would retreat to their home system and remain there for 3,000 years. No contact, no trade, no communication. In exchange, the Galactic Council would recognize Earth's sovereignty and leave the Sol system untouched. Both sides had kept their word, though many suspected the humans had gotten the worse end of the deal. After all, what species would voluntarily lock themselves in a single star system while the rest of the galaxy expanded and evolved? Creel's second-in-command, a younger Zephyron named Vrex, approached with concerning news. The long-range sensors had detected something unusual near the boundary of the Sol system. Energy readings that didn't match any known phenomenon, faint signals that seemed almost like whispers in the cosmic background radiation. The 3,000-year term of the armistice would end in exactly 7 days, and already strange things were happening. The Zephyron High Command had been preparing for this moment for decades. They had built the largest fleet in their empire's history, positioned strategic assets throughout former human space, and formed alliances with dozen other species who shared their concerns about humanity's eventual return. The plan was simple and brutal. The moment the armistice expired, they would present humanity with a new reality. The galaxy had moved on without them. Their old territories belonged to others now. They could either accept their diminished place in the new order, or face the combined might of the civilized galaxy. Creel had been chosen to deliver this message personally. His ship, along with a fleet of 500 warships, moved toward the Sol system boundary. They would arrive exactly 1 hour after the armistice expired, giving them legal justification to cross into human space. The ambassador had rehearsed his speech 1,000 times. It would be firm but fair, offering humanity a chance to rejoin galactic society as a minor member species, with restricted travel rights and limited territory. It was generous considering the alternative. As the countdown reached its final day, something changed. The whispers in the background radiation suddenly stopped. The energy anomalies vanished. Space around the Sol system became impossibly quiet, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Creel felt his chitinous skin prickle with an instinct older than civilization. Something was wrong. The humans weren't preparing to negotiate. They were preparing for something else entirely. The moment arrived with anticlimactic silence. The armistice expired and nothing happened. No human ships emerged from the Sol system. No messages were broadcast. No signs of life at all. Creel ordered his fleet forward, crossing the invisible line that had separated human space from the rest of the galaxy for 3 millennia. They expected resistance, defiance, maybe even a desperate attack. They found nothing but empty space and silence. Then the stars began to move. What Creel had taken for distant stellar objects suddenly shifted, revealing themselves as ships. Not hundreds or thousands, but millions. They had been there all along, perfectly camouflaged, waiting. The human fleet didn't look like any vessels from the historical records. These were something new, something that had been built in secret over 3,000 years of isolation. They were beautiful and terrible, like predators evolved in the dark depths of an alien ocean. A single transmission cut through the silence, broadcast on every frequency, simultaneously. The face that appeared on every screen across the Zephyron fleet was human, but somehow different. The woman's eyes held a depth that seemed to span centuries. Her voice was calm, almost gentle, but it carried an undertone that made even the bravest warriors shiver. Commander Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force smiled coldly as she spoke. The galactic community had 3,000 years to prepare for this moment, and you chose to bring warships to our doorstep. How predictable.
How disappointing.
She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. The armistice was never about giving you time to grow stronger. It was about giving us time to evolve beyond your ability to threaten us. You think you've advanced in 3 millennia? Let me show you what humanity has become. The demonstration that followed lasted exactly 60 seconds. Human ships moved through space in ways that defied physics, folding reality around themselves like origami. Zephyron weapons fired and hit nothing but shadows. Their shields, the most advanced in the galaxy, crumbled like paper before weapons that seemed to attack from inside the ships themselves. In 1 minute, half the Zephyron fleet was disabled, not destroyed, but rendered completely helpless. Their engines dead, their weapons offline, their life support running on emergency power. Chen's image reappeared on the screens of the surviving ships. That was 1% of our current defensive capability. 1%. We could have ended your entire civilization in the time it takes to brew a cup of coffee, but we didn't. Do you want to know why? Because humans have learned something in our isolation. True strength isn't about domination. It's about choice. And right now we're choosing to give you one. Creel found his voice, though it trembled as he spoke. What do you want from us? The question echoed across the communication channel, and Chen's smile grew slightly warmer, though no less dangerous. We want you to understand something, Ambassador. Humanity didn't retreat 3,000 years ago. We graduated. We moved beyond the petty conflicts and territorial disputes that still define your societies. We've been watching you all this time, studying you, understanding you better than you understand yourselves. Every war you've fought, every alliance you've made, every technological advancement you've achieved, we've observed and cataloged. We know your strengths, your weaknesses, your fears, and your dreams. The human commander stood up from her chair, and the camera pulled back to reveal the bridge of her ship. It was unlike anything the Zephyrons had ever seen. The crew moved with perfect synchronization, not like soldiers following orders, but like a single organism with multiple bodies. Their technology seemed to respond to thought rather than touch, and the very air around them shimmered with energy patterns that hurt to perceive directly. Your fleet will be released in 24 hours, Chen continued. You will return to your leaders with this message. The age of human isolation is over, but the age of human participation in your wars and conflicts will never begin. We are establishing a new protocol for interaction with humanity. Any species that approaches our space with peaceful intentions will be welcomed. Any species that comes with hostile intent will be neutralized, not destroyed, but removed from the equation until they can evolve beyond violence. Creel watched in horror and awe as human ships began to materialize throughout the disabled fleet. Not arriving, but simply appearing as if they had always been there. Each one took position next to a Zephyron vessel, close enough to touch, impossible to target. The message was clear. We could have destroyed you at any time. We chose not to. The ambassador's mind raced, trying to process the implications. The humans hadn't spent 3,000 years in isolation. They had spent 3,000 years becoming something else, something beyond the comprehension of the species that had driven them away. They had won the war before it even began, not through violence, but through evolution. As the human ships began to fade back into their impossible camouflage, Chen delivered her final message. Tell the galaxy that humanity has returned, not as conquerors or victims, but as gardeners. We will tend to the growth of civilizations that show promise. We will prune those that threaten the garden, and we will wait patiently for the rest of you to join us in what comes next. The 3,000-year armistice is over. The Eternal Watch has begun. The Reckoning Protocol, the Galactic Council's emergency session, convened in chaos. Representatives from 47 species filled the great amphitheater on Nexus Station, their voices creating a cacophony of languages and translation protocols. The Zephyron footage played on repeat on the massive central display, showing the impossible destruction and restoration of their fleet. Ambassador Creel stood at the center podium, his forearms trembling as he recounted his encounter with the transformed humans. High Chancellor Thrix of the Vorthan hegemony slammed her ceremonial staff against the floor, the sharp crack silencing the assembly. The humans have shown their true nature, she declared, her scaled skin shifting from green to deep purple with agitation. They claim to be evolved, but what we witnessed was a threat display. They disabled 500 of our allies' finest warships without firing a traditional weapon. This is not evolution. This is preparation for conquest. The cerulean representative, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell, pulsed with agreement. Our analysis of the encounter suggests the humans have achieved something we thought impossible. They've merged biological and technological evolution into something unprecedented. Their ships don't just use advanced technology. They are advanced technology, alive in ways we don't understand. This level of development doesn't happen in 3,000 years of normal progress. They've been planning this since before the armistice. Murmurs rippled through the assembly as species after species reported similar observations. Strange readings from the Sol system over the centuries that had been dismissed as sensor ghosts. The occasional disappearance of deep space probes that ventured too close to the quarantine zone. The fact that not a single spy drone or infiltration attempt had ever returned with data about what was happening on Earth. A new voice cut through the discussion, transmitted from outside the station. Every screen in the amphitheater flickered and displayed a human face, but not Commander Chen. This man was younger, with eyes that held the same unsettling depth, but also something else. Compassion, perhaps, or pity. He introduced himself as Captain Marcus Rivera of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. Distinguished members of the Galactic Council, Rivera began, his tone respectful but firm. I apologize for the intrusion, but we felt it necessary to address your concerns directly. You're right that we've been preparing for 3,000 years, but not for what you think. We haven't been preparing for war. We've been preparing for what comes after war becomes obsolete. The Council erupted in outrage at the unauthorized transmission, but their security systems couldn't block it or trace its source. Rivera continued speaking, unperturbed by their protests. You speak of our transformation as if it's a weapon aimed at you. In truth, it's a gift we're offering to the entire galaxy. But first, you need to understand what really happened 3,000 years ago. The screen shifted to show historical footage from before the armistice. Human colonies burning, human ships fleeing, human refugees crowding into overtaxed transports. You didn't defeat us, Rivera narrated. You didn't drive us away with superior force or numbers. You united against us because you feared what we represented. Not our weapons or our territory, but our idea. The idea that species could transcend their biological limitations. That evolution didn't have to be a random process, but could be guided and accelerated. High Chancellor Thrix interrupted. Her voice broadcasted throughout the chamber. You speak of transcendence while demonstrating military superiority. Your actions contradict your words, human. Rivera smiled sadly. Do they? We disabled your ships without killing a single soul. We revealed our presence without attacking. We could have remained hidden, building our strength until we could conquer the galaxy without opposition. Instead, we're talking to you, trying to explain something that your languages don't have words for yet. Let me show you what we've really been doing. The display changed again, this time showing Earth itself. But it wasn't the Earth from the historical records. The planet glowed with an inner light, its surface covered not with cities but with something that looked almost organic, massive structures that grew rather than being built, reaching from the surface to orbit like the branches of an impossible tree. The moon had been transformed into something similar, and between them stretched bridges of light and matter that defied conventional physics. We didn't just evolve our bodies or our technology, Rivera explained. We evolved our consciousness. Every human alive today is connected through quantum entanglement to every other human. We share thoughts, memories, experiences, and dreams. Death has become a transition rather than an ending. Birth is a conscious choice made by the collective. We've become something your science fiction writers might have called a hive mind. But that term doesn't do justice to what we've achieved. We're still individuals, but we're also part of something greater. The council sat in stunned silence as Rivera continued. During our isolation, we discovered something fundamental about consciousness and its relationship to reality. We learned how to manipulate matter at the quantum level through thought alone. We solved the mystery of faster-than-light communication and travel by understanding that space and time are just constructs of limited perception. We cured every disease, ended aging, and found ways to transfer consciousness between biological and artificial substrates at will. A representative from the Mantid Confederacy, known for their logical approach to problems, clicked their mandibles thoughtfully. If what you say is true, why reveal yourselves now? Why not continue your isolation and evolution without interference? Because isolation was never the goal, Rivera replied. It was a necessary step, like a caterpillar entering a chrysalis. But now we've emerged and we've discovered something troubling. The galaxy is stuck in the same cycles that nearly destroyed us 3 millennia ago. Wars over resources that could be easily replicated, conflicts over territory in an infinite universe, genocide based on fear of the other. You're trapped in patterns that will eventually lead to your mutual destruction. The screen split into multiple displays, showing conflicts happening across the galaxy at that very moment. Border skirmishes, trade disputes, ethnic cleansings on distant colonies. Rivera's voice grew heavy with sorrow. We've calculated the probabilities. Without intervention, the galaxy will experience a catastrophic war within the next 200 years. 60% of all sentient species will be extinct within 500 years. The survivors will be reduced to pre-spaceflight technology within 1,000. We've seen this pattern repeat in other galaxies. It's happened before. It will happen again unless what? High Chancellor Thrix demanded, though her voice had lost much of its earlier hostility. Unless you allow us to guide you toward something better, not through force or conquest, but through example and assistance. We're offering to share our knowledge, our technology, and our evolution with any species willing to transcend their current limitations. But there are conditions. No more wars of aggression, no more genocide, no more exploitation of less advanced species. Those who accept these terms will be welcomed into what we call the next step. Those who refuse will be left alone to follow their own path. But they'll be contained to prevent them from harming others. The council erupted in discussion again, but this time the tone was different. Fear mixed with hope, suspicion tempered by curiosity. The Cerulean representative pulsed rapidly, processing the implications. You're offering to uplift the entire galaxy? To make us all like you? Rivera shook his head. Not like us. That's the beauty of guided evolution. Each species will transcend in their own unique way, bringing their distinct perspectives and abilities to the collective, while maintaining their individual identities. The Vorthons might become living ships that swim through space. The Ceruleans could evolve into beings of pure thought and energy. The Zephrons might develop the ability to perceive and manipulate higher dimensions. The possibilities are infinite, but the destination is the same. A galaxy where conflict becomes unnecessary, because all needs are met, and all beings are connected. The human captain stood up, and the camera pulled back to show he wasn't on a ship at all. He stood in what appeared to be open space, surrounded by stars, breathing without a suit, existing where no biological being should be able to survive. This is what we've become. Not gods, but not limited by the boundaries you accept as absolute. We've been watching and waiting, hoping you would evolve on your own, but time is running out. The patterns are accelerating. The choice must be made now. Ambassador Creel, who had remained silent throughout the exchange, finally spoke. What happens to those who refuse? Will you destroy them as you could have destroyed my fleet? Never, Rivera replied immediately. We will never initiate violence. But we will prevent violence from being initiated by others. Those who refuse the next step will be given their own space, their own resources, everything they need to live as they choose. But they'll be isolated from those who choose to evolve, protected from harm but also prevented from causing it. It's not a punishment. It's a preservation of their right to choose their own path, even if that path leads nowhere. The transmission began to fade, but Rivera's final words echoed through the chamber. You have one solar rotation to discuss among yourselves. In 24 hours, we'll open channels to each species individually. The choice will be yours to make, evolution or isolation, transcendence or tradition, the next step or the last step. We've waited 3,000 years for this moment. We can wait one more day. As the human's image disappeared, the Galactic Council sat in unprecedented unity of silence. The galaxy had changed in an instant. The humans hadn't returned as conquerors or victims, but as something far more unsettling. Teachers offering a lesson that would fundamentally alter the nature of existence itself. The 3,000-year armistice had ended not with war, but with an invitation to become something beyond imagination. The choice that followed would define the next 1,000,000 years of galactic history.